So what you see here, guys, is pretty much what I'm going to be having in my truck, on my person, and ready to go at a moment's notice. Hello friends, welcome back. I am Jason, and the weather is changing. It's getting colder. We had our first frost, and the world is getting crazier by the minute. So I'm going through my gear. I'm making sure everything is sorted out. I'm making sure I have extra warming layers, making sure that I've got all the necessities in my kit for the colder months and the increased turmoil that is happening around the world. Let's get that out of there for a minute. Here is the pack that I've been carrying around right here. This is my Tarahumara pack. I think most of you that have seen my videos have seen this before. I use a ground pad like this one right here, this accordion style thermarest, which I like a lot because they're super reliable, or I use a hammock in the summertime. It just depends. I'll switch it up from time to time. But in my pack, I've got a tourniquet tucked in the side little pocket there, the water bottle pouch on the side. I've got that ready to go at a moment's notice. Generally speaking, is attached to my individual first aid kit right here from Refuge Medical. I've got some miscellaneous cordage, got some trash. This is real-time stuff here, guys. I'm just going through my kit. I'm not, staging any of this stuff. I've got a spare compass that I don't really like. It's got a big bubble in it. I'm probably gonna get rid of that and just buy an extra really good compass. Back sleeve, that's where I keep my poncho, which is my primary rain gear, and generally speaking, my primary shelter as well. And then usually I have a trash bag in there, but I do not have it right now. So as I'm going through here, I'm just gonna be making some notes and deciding what I want to add to my pack. And then on top, I've got a lighter and an Exotac sleeve, fire sleeve, just to make sure this thing always works when I need it to. This is my backup. In my pocket, I've got my regular lighter, ready to go with just a single Ranger band around it. Got lots of cordage here. Each one of these represents about 25 feet, give or take. So that's 50, 75, roughly 100 feet of cordage that I've got right there. Probably overkill for most situations, but it's there if I should need it. In here, I have a dry bag, and this is just a great big cotton cloth that's really handy for lots and lots of uses. First aid, extra blanket, something like that, just to keep yourself warm if it's a little bit cool at night and you need a little bit more. This is great, wrapping it around your head to keep the mosquitoes off you. Really, really useful, and I keep it dry in a dry bag like that one. Grail water filter, hammock, Vaseline impregnated cotton balls for fire starting capabilities, an SOL escape bivy right here, really lightweight, really handy piece of shelter right there. I like that a lot. And then I've got my cook pot here with all sorts of miscellaneous items in there, such as a knife sharpener, some extra smaller cordage like this bank line, extra fire starters, some instant coffees, my spoon, some duct tape, sewing kit, repair kit from Exotac, lots of just little things, extra batteries for my flashlight, AAA batteries, that kind of stuff, and an extra lighter. Now that's pretty much all I've been carrying around for the most part, and I've spent several nights out, more than several, a lot of nights out with that kit right there, and I've done just fine. The only thing that's not in there is food, basically, so I'll be adding some food to the winter kit for sure. Food is even more important in the wintertime to help you stay warm, so I'm gonna be adding food to it. Most of these items are going to stay in there minus the hammock. The hammock is going to go away, and I'm going to be using a inflatable ground pad, and I'll go fetch that here in just a second. The pack that I choose to use in the winter months, the colder months, is this EXO Mountain Gear 4800 pack. It's very good, very solid, very comfortable. The straps are really comfy to wear. The hip belt here is really, really nice and takes the pressure off of your shoulders. No hot spots, no wear and tear on my body, other than normal stuff. I've hiked, I think the longest hike I did with this pack is 14 miles with no issues, and it had maybe 30 pounds of gear in it, something like that. I haven't ever loaded it up super heavy, so I can't tell you from experience what that's like, but you could definitely put way more than what I've had in here for sure and carry it with I would say ease. But again, the heaviest I think I've carried in here I think is around 50 pounds, and it's got a internal frame here, a rigid frame on the inside that really spreads the weight out and supports the load really well. So I like this pack a lot, so that's what I'm going to be using. That's what I'm going to be throwing all of this good stuff in. So this pot is definitely going in. That is my go-to all the time with all my little knickknacks and whatnots that we talked about earlier. That's going in there. My small little P&W cinch pack is going to go in there. And then potentially this other little waxed canvas, it's kind of like a dry bag basically. I can organize some miscellaneous things in that. So that's going in. I've got an inflatable pad from Big Agnes. Really, really comfy night's sleep with that. A spare water filter. I'm not going to use this unless I absolutely need it, unless something happens to my Grail here. So this is the one that I've been carrying in the warmer months. That is now going away for the season. I'm gonna let that dry out on a shelf somewhere. I'm swapping it out for the bigger Grail GeoPress, and this is the one that I use. I use this all the time. I use it at least once a week, I'd say, and I really like this one a lot. It filters 24 ounces of water at a time, so that's going in. Spare clothing. I'm gonna have spare pair of socks. And I'm gonna have wool long johns, tops and bottoms here, merino long johns. That way, if something should happen to the clothing that I'm wearing, I get wet, whatever happens, doesn't matter if rain or fall in the creek, doesn't matter. I can change out of my wet clothing, I can get in that, I can crawl inside my sleeping bag, and I can warm myself back up while my clothes are drying by the fire or something along those lines. I'm just gonna throw a fleece cap in there, because chances are in the wintertime, I'm gonna have something on my head, either a ball cap or another beanie kind of like that one. So just a spare one there that I probably won't use, but just in case everything on me gets soaking wet, it's nice to have something dry. It's really nice just to have something to crawl into that's dry to sleep at night. That's a big deal. So there's extra clothing, and this is cool. This is the inflator bag from Big Agnes. This is how I inflate my sleep pad, but it's basically a waterproof dry bag as well. Throw my clothes in there, and then any other small miscellaneous things that I might need to keep dry, right? And then I can just put them all the way down to the bottom, make sure the plug is closed right there. Put it all the way down to the bottom, squish all the air out, give it a twist, tuck it over, just like the bread bag, you know, the twist and tuck, and then throw that in the bottom of my pack, and this will be ready for emergencies. If you use one of the military style bivy bags, the Gore-Tex bivy bags, you can actually put this sleep pad inside of it. So you can be inside your sleeping bag, on top of your sleep pad, and then the entire thing can be encased in that bivy bag. And it's really nice, but it's pretty heavy, that Gore-Tex bag, and it's really bulky. So, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that one. In the wintertime, man, it's nice to get in that because you just feel like, bring it. Whatever the weather is, who cares? Just crawl in there and you're going to be good to go. This is a really, really lightweight, I mean, it weighs nothing, down-filled sleep system, and it's got this bright orange one here. I hate the colors, but the bags are amazing. This one is a mummy bag, a really small, lightweight mummy bag, and this is basically an over quilt, this gray one. So you get inside of this, and then you climb underneath this, you crawl in underneath this quilt, and you're laying on top of this, and it's all kind of integrated into one system, and it works really, really good. And the reason I like that is because I can adjust, because the temperatures here in North Georgia where I live, the winters can be frigid cold, really, really cold. And then some nights are pretty warm, actually. Like right now it's pretty warm and it's raining. It's like, I'd say 70 degrees, something like that. And I think it's supposed to stay warm tonight. But then again, tomorrow night could be 30. It just changes so much. So I could just use this one orange sleeping bag, or just the over quilt, or neither. I could just use my bivy bag here and just sleep on top of that. Whatever. So I have options there, and I like that. I'm definitely keeping my poncho for sure. 100%. That is definitely staying with me all the time. It's my primary rain gear. I'm always going to be dressed appropriately when I go out into wild places. Well, pretty much every day. I mean, all day long, I generally try to wear clothes that I can run in, I can move in, I can, if I had to go camping right now with what I've got on me right now, I'd be fine. I would not die tonight if I had only the stuff in my pockets and the clothes that I'm wearing. So that's just how I live my life. But this is my primary rain protection right here, and this is something that I can make a shelter out of and sleep under pretty comfortably. I've done that a lot. But if I needed a bigger shelter, here is a great big tarp. This one's a 9x9 or 10x10. I can't quite remember, but it's huge. It's plenty big enough to sleep underneath, especially if you've got more than one person and all your gear and stuff. It's nice to have a bigger shelter. 2 garbage bags, because the garbage bags are, you know, improvised rain gear, dry bags. You know, you can use them for anything and everything. So I really like having a couple of trash bags. Like these are 42-gallon drum liners. I like to keep wet wipes, especially in the wintertime, because in the summertime, I don't mind stripping down, jumping in the creek and rinsing off and cleaning my body up. But in the wintertime, that sucks a lot. It's not fun at all. So having wet wipes is really, really nice. You can warm these up. You can stick them in your pocket and warm them up a little bit, which is helpful. That's a pro tip right there. Warm them up in your pocket first and then wipe yourself down, top to bottom kind of thing with some of these wet wipes. Just a couple of them usually gets the job done and you feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. My compass, this is a Sunto compass and it's really, really good. Sunto Global, I believe is the name of this one. I've got a small little Right in the Rain notepad and I'm going to have my map in here, which I think is in my truck. I think it's in the glove box of my truck, so I need to pull that out and make sure I at least know where it is. Cordage, I think about 50 feet is probably plenty. I can't imagine needing more than that for really any situation, so 50 feet is gonna be good. Here's some spare clothing. I'm not gonna keep that in there all the time. These are wool shirts basically and some more long johns there. Like I said, I'm gonna be dressed appropriately and this bag is plenty big enough. There's gonna be plenty of extra space in here to throw in extra layers of clothing if I should need to. So whatever the weather report's saying, I can put the appropriate amount of layers in there. While the weather is cooling down, the political atmosphere is definitely heating up. There is tension everywhere, especially in the larger populated cities and stuff like that. And there's wars happening overseas right now, and it just seems like only a matter of time till that starts affecting us on a local level. So, and I don't typically carry a lot of this kind of stuff in my vehicle, and I definitely don't keep a lot of this in my pack. I carry the essentials on my person. I almost always have that with me with a spare mag, but I don't generally carry a whole lot of extra. But I think what I'm going to start doing, I'm not going to put this in my pack, but I am going to put it in my vehicle. So I'm going to have this here, an easier way to carry the and the extras. And I'm going to I think I'm just going to go ahead and stage these. These are 17ers, and I'm going to stick those inside of here. That way I am ready to rock at any given moment if I should need it. Hearing protection, which actually these are the Walkers. These are pretty amazing. If you've never used these before, they're pretty great. They're electronic hearing protection. So they protect your ears from the loud bang. But they also amplify normal sounds, like people talking. I can hear people talking way far away across the field. So that's pretty handy for that. So I like these a lot. They're slim and trim. They don't take up a lot of space. So those are staying in the vehicle. Some eye protection, just with an extra neck gaiter here. So the neck gaiter I can put on obviously to protect my face and from dust and stuff like that. But they're gonna keep my eye protection from getting scratched up. So I'm gonna have these kind of as a package inside my vehicle. Radio, I should have this with me all the time in my vehicle, but I don't. I might just stick it in my pack and leave it in there. The batteries on these last forever. And they're really, really nice just to get some intel, get some information on what's going on around you if potentially phones don't work or whatever. So these are really nice to have. This is an inexpensive bow thing. And then this water Silcock key is pretty handy because getting into the water supplies on the outside of bigger industrial type buildings is really difficult without a tool such as this one. And I'm not a big fan of leaving these types of things in your vehicle, because one, they can easily get stolen and then be in the hands of who knows, right? And who knows what they're going to do with it. Plus they're, just really expensive, right? I don't want to make it big. If I don't have it on me, I just feel like I don't feel good about it. So you do you make your own decisions on that one. But I like to have those types of items with me on my person or, at home and secured in a little bit better fashion. I think I'm also going to throw these leather buckskin deer hide gloves in here. These are really, really nice, especially in the wintertime when you're gathering firewood and stuff, keeping your hands off those icy cold logs and whatnot. I'm going to oil these up a little bit, help waterproof them a little bit. Throw my map in there. I changed my mind. I think I'm putting in this Gore-Tex bivy. I started thinking about how cozy it is in the wintertime to crawl in this thing inside your sleeping bag and inside of this on top of that sleeping pad. And man, it's hard to beat it. The wind, rain, who cares? Snow, it doesn't even matter. So I think it's worth carrying it. I am going to not necessarily ditch the SOL. That's probably going to go in there as well, just for extra, maybe for another person if we should need it. I could always throw out one of the others, leave it in the truck or something like that. So I think this is worth putting in there. I got plenty of room in my pack, so I might as well. Man, these things are great. Heavy, a little bit heavy, a little bit big and bulky, but man, they are nice. I'm not going to compress it because the down, you don't want to leave compressed for long periods of time. So for weeks on end, if this is just sitting in my truck, sitting there all jammed up like that, it's not going to be as lofty, and it's not going to trap the dead airspace. It's not going to insulate me as well if I do that. So what I want to do is leave it all loosey-goosey like this. Loosey-goose down, you see what I did there? Loosey-goose down. And what I would do is if I needed some more room in my pack for additional items and I wanted to compress this and waterproof it, what I would do is I would cram it down in the bottom. I put it in the compression sack that's in here. I'd squish it down tight, and then I'd put it in the bottom of this Gore-Tex bivy bag and then roll it up and put that in the bottom of my bag, and this will keep my sleeping bag dry. One of the reasons why I like this pack is it's got this giant big flap that you can unzip and you can just open up and see all the contents inside of the pack. So that's really, really nice when accessing the bigger compartment there. So our Gore-Tex bivy, I'm gonna stick like this in the bottom of my pack here, like that. I'm gonna take my 10x10 tarp and I'm gonna stick it in the bottom of the bag. That doesn't need to be in a dry bag, it's already dry. My poncho, I'm gonna keep easy access. I'm gonna put that on the outside. My sleep pad right here, I might stick inside of here with my dry clothes. Remember, my wool dry clothes are in this inflator bag. I'm gonna stick that in there, squish the air out of it, give it a twist, so that's gonna stay dry no matter what the weather is. That's going in the pack. This is gonna go in the side compartment, side little water pouch there. Went ahead, these are the batteries that were in my pack before. These are rechargeable. I like to use rechargeable batteries. They don't last as long, but it's nice to just swap them out regular and just keep charging them up. So here's some freshies. I wrapped this one with duct tape, but I figured it makes more sense to use a Ranger band. You're not getting the sticky tape and stuff on your batteries that way. So these will get charged up. These are going in the pack. All my flashlights, for the most part, use, with the exception of any weapons lights, they all use AAAs. So my flashlight's in my pocket. The headlamps that I use, the headlamps in my truck, flashlights in my pocket, they all use AAAs. This mesh bag is great because it keeps all the little tidbits from getting lost when you're using the pot, because you use the pot pretty much every day when you're out in the field. So it's nice to have this stuff contained in something like that. Drop that in there. Fits nice. Lid on top. My navigation stuff I'm going to put on the inside here in this mesh compartment. Fold that over. Cram that in there. Just need to throw a pen in there. I'll do that now before I forget. Pen and a pencil is going to go in there with my navigation stuff. Wet wipes in the garbage bags. I think I'm just going to throw in this big front pouch right there. My extra pack, if I should need extra storage, or I just want to leave this at camp, this giant big heavy pack, and leave that at camp and just use this to go about with the necessities, then that's going to be what I'll use for that. So I'm just going to roll this guy up. You can put that in a pocket if you want, but I'm going to put it in my pack, and I'm going to stick it maybe in this front pouch with the trash bag and wet wipes. Just stick that in there. My first aid kit, I'm gonna throw on the very top of my pack, so it's really easy to access, because when you need this thing, you need it in a hurry. So that's gonna go right there on top. Zip that up, and that's pretty much the only thing I'm gonna keep right there on the top. I've got my 50 feet of cordage. I've also had that little bit of cordage in here. This is kind of my daily use stuff. This is just extra. My big piece of cotton cloth. I like using this a lot. This is a very versatile piece of item. Bandages, pre-filters if the water's really nasty, a lightweight blanket, a shamog. It's really, really good for all sorts of things. So I like that a lot. I'm gonna stick it back in its own dry bag. Extra bag here if I should need it. This is a waxed bag from P&W. I'm gonna put my gloves in there to keep them dry. This isn't a waterproof bag, but it is definitely very water resistant. I've actually used this to make a compass. I dug a depression in the ground. I lined that depression with this bag and filled it full of water and used it to make an improvised compass out of a needle. And it held water for like 8 hours. And it was still holding water. It wasn't leaking at all. So I was sold on the waxed canvas here. And this is some really lightweight, thin stuff. And doesn't take up really any extra weight. Not any extra weight, not a whole extra space, any kind of like thing like that, but it'll keep my gloves dry, so I like that. Here's a small little candle. I like candles like this. You can put them inside your shelters to help warm you up. You can sit against a tree, put this underneath your poncho, and it can increase the temperature inside your poncho 10, 15 plus degrees. I've done this, so I know it's real. And I really like having a little candle for that purpose. Just some light around camp inside your shelter if you don't want to use your headlamp and waste your batteries, that kind of stuff. I like this little candle. Bam, just like that. And that's going to go in this other side pouch because that's something that I just need to get to quite a bit. It's going to go on the side there, and it helps balance the pack out. So there's water on one side and this on the other. That'll balance the weight out a little bit. And then my saw, this is my Silky Big Boy. This is what I use for collecting firewood. Really, really useful. Safer than an axe, safer than wielding a large big blade like that. And it just really, really gets the job done. So the Silky is gonna go in my pack on the side here in this big, long, vertical pouch. Right there. I'm gonna put this in here with my first aid kit, the spare water filter, because actually this right here is really good for debriding, getting rid of junk out of cuts and wounds, open big slashes and gashes and stuff that have gotten nasty, which they oftentimes will. This is an excellent, this big syringe here is really good for getting that stuff out of there and cleaning a wound. So that's gonna go in there with the first aid kit. I'm gonna put it behind the seat of my truck so it can stay loosey-goosey, and then I'm gonna have this between the seats right here. So even if I didn't have this, I still have got a shelter here. I've still got insulating layers. I've got dry wool. I've got a dry hat. I've got a bivy bag in here, 2 bivy bags actually, and a sleep pad. So if, you know, worst comes to worst, I could still have shelter and a way to keep myself warm. My poncho, I'm just gonna slip in the back here. That's where I normally keep it. I'm gonna put it in the water bladder here, where the water bladder would go on the pack. That's where it's gonna go. I'm gonna slide it all the way down to the bottom. That, and that's where I'll put an extra garbage bag as well. I don't like water bladders very much because they're a pain in the butt to clean out and all that stuff. It's kind of annoying. I don't used to using that much. I just generally use a water bottle. So, but what I might do is put a water bladder in here and just leave it empty. And if I ever needed it, it would be ready to go. So I'm gonna go grab one of those right now. I've got this giant water bladder right here. This one's 10 liters. So what is that? 2.5 gallons. Obviously you don't have to carry it full. You could just fill up what you need if you wanted to carry a little bit less water, but I figure, and again, I don't really use these very often, and I think it's better to have one and not need it, you know, than need it and not have it. So, and it doesn't weigh much, it doesn't take up any space at all when it's in there empty. So I'm just gonna slip that in that back compartment where the water bladder goes, where my poncho is, slip her in there and forget about it. I'm also going to add my small little alcohol stove here. This is a very, very lightweight titanium alcohol stove right here that you just add this rubbing alcohol to, that I've got in this little aluminum container. This much rubbing alcohol will last me forever. I could boil a lot of water with what I've got right here. And then for some reason I can't find my little wood stove that I use in conjunction with this. I'll open this thing up and then set it inside of it, but it's probably in my truck somewhere. I don't know. I'll sort it out eventually, but for now, we'll just throw that in there until I find it. It's around here. Don't you hate when you lose stuff? You know you've got it. You know where it is. It should be someplace, but it's not. It's not in that place you think it should be. My stove, I think I'm gonna put in here with my gloves. And that's where this will go to once I find it. The Vargo titanium hexagonal wood stove. As far as electronics and stuff like that, I keep battery banks for charging my phone and stuff like that. I've got those in the door of my truck because I keep them charged up. I use them quite a bit, so they're always, you know, either empty or on their way to empty. So I'm charging one of those up right now. That'll stay in the truck, but I can easily slip that in here if I should need it with charging cables and stuff. That's also in the door of my truck. No food yet. Plenty of room in here for food. So what I'll do is I'm probably gonna put about a half a dozen Mountain House freeze-dried type meals in here. That's what I generally like to do. It's just the easiest and it's the simplest. So I'm gonna put about 6 of them in here, and that should be good for about 3 days or 72 hours of meals for me, and I should stay pretty well fed with that. That's food, fire, no problem. I'm gonna have fire guaranteed with just the stuff in my pockets, and then in addition to the stuff that's in here, no question I'll have a fire if I should need it. I've got fuel for my stove, my alcohol stove, so I don't even need to have an actual fire. I can cook my food that way. I also like to put in snacks, foods that I don't have to cook. Mountain House meals you don't have to cook. You just put water in there and let it soak for a long time, and eventually it'll be soft enough to eat. So you don't have to necessarily heat it up and cook them. But having some ready to go nuts and beef jerkies and stuff like that, and my favorite candy is the Payday bar because it doesn't melt when it's hot. But I've got the 10-liter water bladder for my water if I should need to carry more water. I've got the Grail GeoPress, that's 24 ounces of water that I can filter at a time, and it's a 24-ounce water bottle, so that's really, really good. I always have water purification tablets on me. It's in my belt, so there's that. Water is squared away. And by the way, if there's some of you are gonna be like, you got no knife, you got no survival, but listen, it's either in my pockets. I've obviously got a knife on me. I've got a multi-tool and a knife on me right now, a fixed blade knife. So if it's not in the pack and you didn't see it, it's probably on me. Maybe not. So leave it in the comments. That's fine. Let me know what you think I'm missing in the comment section. Things I need to add, things that I'm doing right, things that I'm not doing so right. Shelter. Got plenty of shelter. I got bivy bags. I got tarps. I've got ponchos. I've got sleep pads, sleeping bags, extra layers, clothing, dry clothes. My pack has been sprayed down with a silicone waterproofing spray, so that keeps the majority of at least rain, you know, out of my pack, which is nice. But then everything inside the pack that needs to stay dry is in some sort of bag to keep it dry. I mean, you could probably throw this in the river over here behind the camera and let it sit there for a while, and nothing that needs to stay dry is gonna get wet, which is a big deal to me, and I think that's pretty important and often overlooked. Again, the sleeping bag here can go in a trash bag. It can go down in the bottom of the bivy bag and then be jammed inside of this pack to help save some space. But for now, I want to keep it loosey-goosey, and I'm going to put it behind the seat of my truck. I'll cinch everything down on this pack. Not that it needs to. It just keeps everything tidy. I'll buckle up all the compression straps on the pack, and this will ride in my truck between the 2 seats. I don't have a center console on purpose, so I could have room for something like this. It'll ride between the 2 front seats. So what you see here, guys, is pretty much what I'm going to be having in my truck, on my person, and ready to go at a moment's notice right there. This pack is loaded up with anything and everything that I think I might need, minus food. Don't have that in there yet. And obviously this sleeping bag is not in the pack, but that could be remedied very, very quickly. Ear protection, eye protection, communications, and protection, I think we should be set. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I'd really be grateful for that. Love to talk to you in the comment section. I always really enjoy that, interacting with you guys. So thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one. This pack probably weighs about, I'd say 25, 30 pounds, maybe, in its current state with no water or no food. So add the food, add the water, put the sleeping bag in here, and maybe a couple other odds and ends, and we might get the thing up to 35 pounds, maybe something like that, 40 pounds at most, which is more than reasonable, more than doable to carry that much weight.